Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpadam Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Krutau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeri Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Chaitanyam Sarvagam Sarvam Sarvabhuta Guhashayam Yat Sarva Vishayatitam Tasmai Sarva Vide Namaha. Ashabdaditvato nasya grahanam chendriyir bhavet sukhadebhyas tathanyatvad buddhya vapi katham bhavet. Question is asked here. Bahyantahkarana agrahyatvad. Since Atma is not grahya, cannot be grasped, cannot be perceived, cannot be known, Bahya karanahi, by the external sense organs of perception, nor can be grasped by the organs of action, neither antahkarana nor by mind. Therefore, how can Atma be known? Katham sakshat vijnanam sat. How can there be sakshat, immediate knowledge of Atma? Because only means of knowledge available to us are the external organs of perception and the mind. So there is no rule. So these rules are stated here by, you can call it Purva Pakshi or by a student. And there is no rule that something can be known, not known because it is not the object of perception, nor can something not be known because it is not the object of mind. Since Atma is not the object of knowledge, organs of perception, and the mind, how can Atma be known? There is no rule that which is not perceived by organ of perception cannot be known, nor is a rule that which is not objectified by the mind cannot be known. Adrishyopi yatha Rahu Chandre. So Rahu is a Chaya Graha, is just a shadow of planet, and therefore not seen by eyes. And still it is known that this is Rahu. So just an example to show the exception to the rule. There is no rule that you cannot know an entity just because it is not perceived by organ of perception, like Rahu. Bimbam yatha ambasi sarvagopi tasi. Similarly also, buddhi is limited. How can limitless Atma be known in limited buddhi? Bimbam yatha ambasi. Just as the object such as moon or sun is so large and still seen in the water, which is limited. Sarvagopi tahaiva atma buddho eva sagruhyata. Therefore, Even though buddhi is a limited receptacle of reflection, still the limitless Atma can be known just as a large moon is known in a small receptacle of water. So no rule that a large thing cannot be known in something small, that's all. Buddho bodhatma gruhyate chet. If, as you say, bodhatma, atma of the nature of bodha, meaning consciousness. Bodha eva atma, so atma of the nature of consciousness, as you say, can be known in the buddhi. Buddhi dharma bodha iti. The general rule is that bodha, cognition, is the buddhi dharma, is a dharma or the state of mind, buddhi. For example, an object such as a pot is known, then there is ghatakar vritti, which is a state of the mind, state of buddhi. Buddhi takes the form of ghata or a pot. Thus we have vritti. Vritti means the state of mind or the form of ghata. That's how ghata is known. So whatever is known as buddhi is the nature of buddhi. Buddhi dharma, the cognition of a pot is nothing but the state of buddhi. Meaning buddhi dharma, it is the dharma, the nature or the quality of buddhi, attribute of buddhi. Then does it mean that when the knowledge of self takes place, there is also a state of buddhi? Bhanarbimbam yatha chaushnam jale dushtam. There is no rule that just because something is reflected, if Atma is reflected in buddhi and received in the buddhi, does it not become the nature of buddhi or attribute of buddhi? Says no, even though sun is reflected in the water and water reflects the light of the sun as well as the warmth of the sun, and still the light and the heat do not become the attribute of water. So also even though buddhi reflects the Atma, that doesn't become the attribute of buddhi. Otherwise it is subject to coming and going. Idea is that buddhi comes and goes. Knowledge also will come and go, but that's not so. Buddho bodho na tad dharma tatheva sat vidharmatah. One is example of the water. That we know that water doesn't become bright, nor does it become warm. And also vidharmatah, the nature of water is coolness. So water cannot become warm because it cannot give vision. Similarly also the nature of buddhi is it is unconscious. Therefore cannot become conscious, cannot take the form of Atma. Then continue verse 36. That we saw also. न केवलम शास्त्रे बुद्धवे चिद्धातु परमात्मा स्फुरति. Is it that the Atma shines only in the Atmakara buddhi? Does Atma shine only in the buddhi which is Atmakara, which is the Shastra buddhi? Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman, that is Brahmakara vritti, that is Shastra buddhi. Does Atma shine only in that buddhi? Kintu laukikeshu api. No, Atma shines in every vritti. It is nature of vritti to reflect Atma. So it's not that only Atmakar vritti will reflect Atma, even Ghatakar vritti also will reflect Atma. Chakshuridakta dhyo vritti ya tam pasyan aluptadrik drishte drashta bhaved Atma. चक्षुर्युक्ता ध्येय वृत्ति, चक्षुर्द्वारिका ध्येय वृत्ति. The vritti, the thought or the cognition that takes place in buddhi when the buddhi reaches out to an object through the gateway of chakshu, let us say. Meaning buddhi travels through the gateway of the eyes to contact an object such as a pot. And thus way ghatakara vritti, buddhi takes the form of the pot, the object. There also Atma is very much shining because even that buddhi also is illumined by Atma. So not only the cognition of pot takes place in the buddhi, but you know that this is I am the knower of this pot, vritti or ghata. So thus the drashta is always there, then only the existence of the ghatakara vritti also can be established. Meaning that Atma, the consciousness that I eliminate every vritti. Swataha, aparokshaha, sakshita, sfurti. That sphuranam or the shining manifestation of the Atma is not the function of the buddhi or the vritti. Is not that Atma starts shining because the buddhi is Atma akara, and Atma ceases to shine because buddhi is ghatakara. Atma shines. Meaning that Atma shines, is self-shining, therefore does not depend upon what the vritti is, whether it is there or not. The shining sphuranam of the Atma does not depend upon vritti. It shines on its own, therefore whether there is vritti or not, and whatever be the form of vritti, Atma shines. So vritti is called drishti. Ghatakar vritti is a cognition of the form of ghata, which is how we see. So ghata is perceived through ghatakar vritti. So vishayakar vritti is a drishti, shruti, mati, vijnati. Drishti means when I perceive the part, then ghatakar vritti takes place. Chakshushi vritti takes place. When I hear a sound, then a corresponding vritti takes place. Shravani vritti, shrutrendriya. Therefore, vrittis or cognitions, different cognitions take place depending on different objects they are perceived by different organs of perception. Tam pashyan avabhasayan. Whatever cognition takes place in the mind, avabhasayan, illumining that. Alupta druk akuntira jnana shakti. Because shining of Atma, as we say, does not depend upon the kind of vritti, nor depend upon the existence or, existence of vritti. Atma alupta druk is the eternal druk or eternal drashta, eternal witness. When you were at the eternal, it doesn't remain witness also. I mean, really, nothing can be eternal. So we call it eternal. Alupta druk. Druk means drashta. Alupta means that which does not suffer a cessation, lopa. Cessation is not there. Ceaseless seer. Non-ceasing drashta or seer or witness. No witness can be non-ceasing because witness depends upon the object of witness. But here is called the eternal witness because witness is only a secondary description. What Atma is, that it shines in its own glory. In the presence of Atma, the vrittis get illumined, so we call Atma illuminator. We call the sun illuminator of the world because in presence of sun the world gets illuminated. But from the standpoint of sun there is no act of illumination, no effort of illumination. Sun simply shines. To shine is the nature of sun. No effort is needed on the part of sun to shine. Usually a kriya pada or verb involves an effort of action. But this is the verb of being. The Atma is eternal drashta, eternal seer of seeing. Shrota, shrotehe, shrota. Hearing again is a buddhi vritti. Atma illumines that buddhi vritti, so it's called shrota. It's called the witness of the shruti, witness of hearing, witness of seeing, witness of touching, tasting. Uttaratrapi yojyam. So next verse is verse 37. Kevalam manaso vrittim Pashyan manta mate rajah Vijñata lupta shaktitvad Tatha shastram nahi tyatah. Kevalam manaso vrittim pashyan. There is this chakshushi vritti, shravani vritti, vritti or cognition taking place because of the activity of eyes, activity of ears, etc. But kevalam vrittim, the vritti that takes place without the activity of organ of perception, takes place like memory. So you remember an object, remember a person, that doesn't require any operation of the organ of perception. So he calls it kevalam manasah vritti. Chakshuradi dvara vahi apravrittanam vishyakanam ityartha. You may remember Vishaya such as thoughts without the operation of eyes or any organ of perception. So that is called Kevalam Manaso Vrittim. Merely the thought of the mind, which thought is not dependent upon the functioning of any organ of perception. Such thoughts take place, memories take place, happiness takes place, unhappiness takes place. Any number of thoughts take place. So all thoughts in the mind are not always the cognitions. You think, you visualize, you create, you remember. And so various kinds of thoughts take place. Those thoughts also are equally illumined by Atma. Manta, mate, ajah, mati takes place. No, Shruti is the cognition that takes place to the organ of Shravanam. Mati means mananam, that takes place through the functioning of mind without the agency of the sense organs. Vijñati, the knowledge, it takes place because of activity of the buddhi without the need of sense organs. So you start thinking about something, you recognize something in your mind, see something in your mind, all these kind of thoughts or vrittis have taken place without the agency of the organs of perception. So it's called matihi. When it's called drishtihi, the thought or the vritti that takes place because of the function of the drik or the organ of seeing, Mati is the mananam, the vritti that takes place merely by the activity of mind, because mind is thinking. Vijñati is vritti takes place by the activity of only vijñana or buddhi. So these thoughts also are equally illumined by Atma. That's the whole idea. Who is Ajaha? So kevalam manaso vrittim pashyan mantaha matehe manta bhavet. Thus Atma, Ajaha, unborn, changeless, eternal witness also becomes the thinker of the thinking and knower of the knowing. He is called seer of seeing, hearer of hearing, so also thinker of thinking, knower of knowing. ऐसा विकार रहित है, विज्ञाता अलुप्त शक्तित्वात्. So alupta druk earlier was said. Alupta shaktitva, same thing. Lopa means cessation. Lupta, that which has ceased. Alupta, which does not cease to be. Alupta shaktivat means the one who possesses the power of never, ceaselessly shining. Eternal witness. Alupta chit shaktitvat. Alupta means eternal. Say. Atma means the nature of the eternal consciousness. Therefore, vijñāte vijñāta. So, on what basis do you say that Atma is eternal witness? Alupta shaktitve dushruti mudaharati. That Atma possesses the power of eternally shining. That the shining of Atma never suffers a cessation. On what basis do you say that? Shrutim udaharati tatha shastram. Shastra means shastra vakyam. Nahi iti. That's all. Nahi. There is a state of a Shruti which says nahi. What is nahi? So, now, if you look at the word tatha shastra nahi iti ataha. Ataha means, normally ataha means therefore. Here Tikakara says atas is the tas pratyaya to etat. So the substantive is etat saranama. And to that you apply tas pratyaya, tasil pratyaya becomes ataha. Normally ataha means fifth case because, but here he says tasehe sarvaktikatva angikarat. So ataha here does not mean fifth case, means tasmin seventh case. So etasmin shastram, not that because there is shastram. Etasmin with reference to alupta shaktitvam. So that Atma is alupta shakti. Etasmin with reference to that shastram. This is the shastra vakya. Therefore there is shastra vakya no. With reference on this subject, this is this Vishaya Saptami. On this topic, there is the shastra vakya. Oh, Saptam mein tasidi case. So some people say seventh case. So which is that vakya which is made by nahi? That's all the author says. So Tika says nahi drashtuhu drashtehe ita arabhya. Nahi vijñātuhu vijñātehi viparilopo vidyate iti shrutehi ityartaha. So footnote says Brihadani Upan 4.3.23. So Brihadanika says Yadvai tanna pashyati pashyanvai tanna pashyati. The Brihadanika Upanishad describes the state of deep sleep where there is no cognition at all, there is no awareness at all. So one would think that there is no awareness in deep sleep at all. But had there been awareness, you would hear, think, etc. as you do in the waking state. The deep sleep state you don't hear, don't see, don't think, don't know. Therefore, the thinking, knowing is also not there. One is knowledge, other is knowing. So knowledge takes place by knowing. So knowledge is a specific state of knowing. Knowing can be there, seeing can be there, but the seen need not be there. If the organ of perception, eyes, are not there, the seen is not there, seeing is not there, but still, the one that sees is always there. That eyes see is not because of themselves, it is consciousness that sees through the eyes. Consciousness or Atma that hears through the organ of hearing. Conscious Atma that thinks through the faculty of thinking, knows the faculty of knowing. So real seer, hearer, thinker, knower is Atma. In which the organs of perception, eyes, ears, or the mind, intellect become the instrument for giving a specific form to thinking. Thinking is the nature of Atma. The specific thinking takes place when that thinking manifests through the mind. Knowing is the nature of Atma. Specific knowledge takes place when that knowing functions through the intellect. Seeing is the nature of Atma. But sight takes place when that seeing manifests through the organ of seeing. So that we see specific objects, hear specific objects, think of specific objects, know specific objects, involves two entities. One is consciousness and other is the specific organ of perception. So it is that eyes which give consciousness the specific form. The consciousness becomes ghata, the drushti becomes ghata drushti. Consciousness is drushti. That drushti in the waking becomes ghata drushti. Seeing the part is because of the functioning of eyes. Same drushti, consciousness becomes hearing because of the consciousness manifesting through the organ of hearing. So when specific organs are not there, specific forms are not there. But the seeing, hearing, the consciousness is always there. You say, I don't hear anything, that is true. Because the faculty of hearing is not functioning. In deep sleep state, I do not hear anything particular, do not see anything particular, do not think anything, because those faculties are not functioning. Not that consciousness is not there. So the organ of perception such as eyes, which give a specific form to consciousness called drishti, is not there. Therefore seeing is not there, but then awareness is there. This is what Upanishad wants to say. Meaning that, therefore, yadvai tanna pashyati, pashyanvai tanna pashyati. In deep sleep state does not see, seeing it does not see. Why? Seeing is there, but seen is not there. Seen will be there when the organ of seeing is there, but seeing, which is function of consciousness, is always there. Nahi drashtuhu drushte vipiropa vidyate avinashitvat. There cannot be any absence of this seeing of the sight, because seeing is avinashi, consciousness is eternal. Same, yadvai tanna jigrati, then in deep sleep it does not smell, not because the smelling is not there, because the organ of smell is not there. Tad dvitiyam asti ato anyad vibhaktam. For the Atma in the deep sleep state to see something, the object of seeing must be there, the organ of seeing must be there. Then that seeing can take place. They are not there. Atma is ever seeing. But what gives specific form to that seeing or consciousness, namely organ of seeing or the object of seeing, are not there. Therefore, seeing in a conventional sense of an object doesn't take place does not mean that there is no seeing in the deep sleep state. no smelling in deep sleep state, no tasting, no speaking, no hearing, no thinking, no touching, no knowing. So each one of these functions is taken, because no glossing over. They don't think that knowing is not there. There is no organ of knowing and object of knowing, therefore, what do you think knowing is not there? But knowing in terms of illumination is always there. So real knowing is illumination. That I know a given object is that object is illumined. For that illumination, the buddhi is required. That I see an object, the object is illumined through the organ of seeing. So object that is illumined and organ of seeing are not there in deep sleep. Doesn't mean that the light of seeing is not there, the light of consciousness is there. But then the organ that is required and the object that is required for giving a specific form to that consciousness, like ghatakar vritti, is not there. But then, seeing is always there, shining is always there. The shining of the Atma never suffers cessation. Alupta Shakti. Then, so the verse also said, first is Vijñāta alupta shaktitvat. So first of all, consciousness is described alupta shakti. Earlier said, Drushte drashta bhavedatma shrutehe shrota tatha bhaved. The earlier verse described Atma as Drushte drashta, the seer of seeing. Shrutehe shrota, the hearer of hearing. So where do you get that description? Therefore the Tikakara says, Drashte drashta ityadaucha na drashte drashtaram pashyehe. That is another statement from Brihadaranyaka 3:4-2. So hovacha ushastha chakrayana. Ushastha chakrayana asked of Yajnavalkya, यथा विब्रूयात् असौ गौः असौ अश्वैति एवमेव एतद् व्यपदिष्टं भवति. You promise me that you will make me see the Atma, and so you are not showing that. This is a cow, this is an alley horse. You hold the cow by the horn and say, this is cow, like that. Show me Atma. यदेव साक्षात् अपरोक्षात् ब्रह्म या आत्मा सर्वांतर तम्मे व्याचक्ष्वेति. I want you to show me Atma that is immediate. So there is immediately right, this directly immediate, that Atma which is the self of all. Show me that. Kato Yajnavalkya sarvantara, which one is sarvantara, the innermost self? No drishte drashtaram pashyehe. Na pashyehe, you cannot see, drishte drashtaram, you cannot see the seer of seeing. Na shrutehe shrotaram shrunuyat, one cannot hear the hearer of hearing. Hearer of hearing, meaning the one that illumines hearing. Hearer is only in a secondary sense. Hearing can take place provided hearing also is illumined. Hearing is a vritti taking place due to the functioning of the organ of hearing. But that hearing can take place if that vritti also is illumined by consciousness. So just because vritti called hearing is not there does not mean consciousness, the real hearer is not there. Therefore you cannot see the seer through sight, cannot hear hearer through hearing. न दृष्टे दृष्टारम पश्ये. Dृष्टे दृष्टारम, you cannot see the seer of seeing. न श्रुते श्रोतारम शृणुयात, one cannot hear the hearer of hearing. That means illuminator of hearing, illuminator of seeing. न मते मंतारम मन्वीथाः, न विज्ञाते विज्ञातरम विजानीयाः. So you cannot know the knower. Knowing, you cannot know the knower of knowing. You cannot know the thinker of thinking. Ishate Atma Sarvantara. That is your Atma, that is the innermost self of all. That consciousness that cannot be objectified, which is your own self. So stop objectifying. Stop trying to see the Atma, hear the Atma, think of Atma, realize Atma, experience Atma. You already are Sarvantara. Don't have to become Sarvantara, that's the innermost self of all. You don't have to visualize it, you are. Is Atma, yata anyat artam, other than Atma, everything is perishable. Iti. Iti Shruti Udaharya. So these two Shruti statements are stated for the last two verses. Second verse for the previous verse, first verse for the current verse. Drashtutvadi Vipadeshat. Nahi dृष्टे दृष्टारम पश्ये. You cannot see the seer of seeing. So Atma is called drashta. You cannot see the seer of seeing. You cannot hear the hearer of hearing. So Atma there is described as drashta, dृष्टे drashta, श्रुते श्रोता, मते manta. So Atma is seer, hearer, thinker, knower. The Vipadeshat. When that kind of designation is given to Atma, that is drashta, shrota, vikaritva, ashuddhatva, prasakti. We know that drashta, the seer, is always changing. The seer changes with reference to what is seen. So what is seen keeps on changing, therefore the seer also changes. If Atma also seer, all these vrittis and vrittis change, Atma also will change, then vikaritvam will be there. Ashuddhatvam. Seer is necessarily separate from what is seen. The seer and seen exclude each other, therefore seer is limited. Not including seen. And limited is bound, limited, and therefore impure. So, ashuddhatva prasakti. One is the seer is always changing. So, if Atma is called seer, then it must be changing. And seer excludes, seer doesn't include seen. Yushma, Smat, Pratyaya are different, becomes limited, and therefore impure. This will be the consequences of describing Atma as drashta, shrota, manta. So this doubt arises, therefore, ashankam, prasaktim, ashankya. First of all, this prasanga or this possibility is doubted, and then the answer is given. Dhyayatitva vikaritvam tatha lelayatityapi atrasteneti shuddhatvam tatha nanvagatam shruteः. Dhyayati iva lelayati iva. So Shrutau, in Shruti, not in this text. Shruti means in the original Upanishad, Dhyayati iva, Lelayati iva, in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Iva Shabda Dhyana Charanayo Avasvatam Uchyate. This statement has come many times before. Dhyayati iva, he as though meditates. Lelayati, he as though gets distracted. As though. Where meditation takes place, concentration takes place is mind. And on account of identification of the mind, Atma thinks that I am meditating. The distraction also takes place in the mind, I am distracted. So Atma is as though meditating. Atma is as though distracted. Meditation, the distraction also will be there. So Dhyayati iva, Shruti use the word iva, as though. Shrutau iva shabdat dhyana chalanayoho avasatvam uchyate, as though meditates, as though concentrates, as though gets distracted. Meaning that there is no act of concentration in Atma. There is no act of distraction in Atma. Act of concentration is in the mind. Act of distraction also is in the mind. But because of identification, this one thinks that I am meditating, I am distracted, I am disturbed. But that meditation in I or the distraction I, eva, abhasa, looks like Atma is concentrating. So there is no act of concentration in Atma, nor is there an act of distraction in Atma. Ataha avikaritvam. If Atma was meditating, then meditator always is subject to change. If Atma was getting distracted, then distraction is changed, so then vikaritvam will be there. But Shruti says, iva, as though, concentrate, as though get distracted, meaning that there is no action in Atma, therefore no vikara. So dhyayati iti avikaritvam tatha leyalayati ityapi. In both this, dhyayati eva, leyalayati eva. First line. So first line quotes the statement of Upanishad to show the avikaritvam or changelessness of Atma. Second question was the impurity of Atma. Then, if Atma becomes so atrastena iti shuddhatvam, Atma becomes drashta, then Atma will become thief also, because if the act of stealing takes place in the mind, then Atma will become thief. If act of concentration takes place in the mind, Atma becomes concentrator or meditator, then if the stealing takes place, then Atma becomes thief. If killing takes place, Atma becomes killer. Atrastena iti shuddhatvam. So says, atrastena astena bhavati bhrunah abhrunah iti. That is 4.3.22. Is an all description of, in fact, deep sleep state. But deep sleep state becomes the drishtanta. That's the closest that we have to the true nature of Atma. The deep sleep state is the example of moksha. That's the closest experience we have of moksha. Therefore, Brihadaranyaka Upanishad analyzes in great detail the state of deep sleep to help us understand moksha or the nature of Atma. Atra pita apita bhavati, mata amata, lokaha alokaha, devaha adevaha, vedaha avedaha. Atra pita apita bhavati. In the deep sleep state, the father becomes non-father, mother becomes non-mother, the worlds become non-worlds. Objects also lose their being. Devaha adevaha, the devatas, the no more devatas. Vedaha avedaha. So this is the world of a Vedic person. When he performs all these Vedic rituals, then devatas are involved, the lokas are involved, swarga etc. are involved. Vedas are involved, the means. Devatas to whom the offerings are made. Loka is the goal, the object that you reach. Phalam. None of these things remain. Atastena asteno bhavati. Stena means a thief is an impure person. If stena or stenatvam, being a thief is the nature of Atma, then Atma is impure. Atra stena asteno bhavati. In deep sleep state, when the vritti of stena is not there, vritti of stealing is not there, in his own nature, Atma is not a stealer. Stealing is the nature of mind. Atma eliminates even that state of stealing. Bhrunaha abhrunaha. So this bhruna hatya is a big thing, in Vedas. So abortion would become a big papa. The Panch Mahapapas, one of this is a papa. Anyway, we are not going to debate that, but this is again and again, that must be happening then also. Bhruna hatya, the killing of the embryo. So the killer of embryo becomes unkiller in the deep sleep state, because that's the nature of Atma. All this nature of mind, the killer, etc. Chandala, although impure, Chandala also the any untouchable becomes non-untouchable. Paulkasa, all these different jatis are there, which are all the what shall I say, the combination of different jatis. So all of these are in fact barred, they are all outside the mainstream. So who is the Paulkasa? One born of a Shudra father and Kshatriya mother is called Paulkasa. Who is the Chandala? One born of Shudra father and Brahmana mother is called Chandala. Shudra father, Kshatriya mother. So, any combinations can take place. Don't think that was not happening in the Vedic times. This human tendency of indulgence, is always there. And you pose all restrictions of caste and then you can't do this. But many people may comply, some may not be able to comply. Therefore, at any time, the rebels were always there. Who will break the rules? You break the rule, you are outcast. You can pull kasa, chandala, this, that, and then outside the boundary of the village. So by that combination, hundreds of different kinds of castes were there. How many combinations, permutations can be there? Anyway, all of this is in the waking state. Atma is unconcerned about them. Shramana, even Shramana means a monk, no more remains a monk. Tapasaha, a recluse, no more remains a recluse, etc. Anandvagadam punyena, anandvagadam papena. Anandvagadam, Anvaya is the connection. He is unconnected punya, unconnected papa. In deep sleep, in the waking and dream experiences punya papa. But it doesn't become the punyashali. Experiencer of the virtue doesn't become virtue. Atma doesn't become virtuous. Experiencing sin, Atma does not become a sinner. Anandvagadam punyena, anandvagadam papena, unconnected with virtue, unconnected with vice. Therefore, he leaves all waking stuff right here and goes to dream. Something else leaves there and go to deep sleep. he can transport from one state to the other without any residue at all, doesn't carry anything. Tirno hi tada sarvan shokan hridasya bhavati. He becomes beyond the afflictions of the heart. So this statement I quoted, iti cha shrute shuddhatvam siddhyam. Looks like that if Atma becomes drashta, shrota, does he become vikari, does he become impure? Because you'll be affected by what you are seeing. See something impure, don't you become impure? Is an Atma being impure? No, Atma is ever pure, ever changeless. So statements of Shruti are quoted simply to quieten these doubts. These doubts arise, they are resolved by the statements of Shruti. But Shruti alone is our pramanam, the valid means of knowledge for revealing the nature of Atma. Therefore, the different words used for Atma, you use some word. Because there cannot be a word that describes Atma, so whatever you call it, whether you call it Drashta, Shrota, Sakshi, any word you use. If you take the literal meaning, then it will only imply a limited entity. A limited entity will be changing and all problems will be there. So even though we use the words which seem to imply a limited entity, but by implication, by lakshyartha, all of them mean stena astena. Or he is not the abhrunaha, anandvagataha. Meaning that we have to take the lakshyartha of all these words. If we take vachyartha, then these problems arise. Therefore, to help the student rise from vachyartha to lakshyartha, these statements are made here. Nunu sushupte jnana abhavat jagrat swapnyo satad bhavat atmana katham avikaritvam. You quoted the Shruti to say that Atma is avikari. But then our experience seems to show that Atma cannot be avikari. Sushupte jnana bhavat, in the deep sleep state there is no cognition, no knowledge. Absence of consciousness. Jagra swapnesu tad bhavat, in waking and dream there is cognition, there is knowledge. That means that Atma becomes the devoid of knowledge at one point, becomes possessed of knowledge in the different states. Deep sleep state, Atma becomes devoid of knowledge. In waking and dream, Atma becomes possessed of knowledge. So Atma also changes. He is a knower in waking and dream and not knower in the deep sleep state. Atmana katham avikaritam. How can you say that Atma is avikari, changeless? Because the experience changes. So verse 39 says, Shatyalopat sushupte jnah तथा बोधे विकारतः ज्ञेयस्यैव विशेषस्तु यत्र वेति श्रुतेर्वचः. Shakti alopat. That Shakti means the power of consciousness does not suffer a cessation. Sushupte jnana, therefore in the deep sleep state also is jnana, is the nature of consciousness. So Sushupti is where the mind ceases to be there. Not consciousness ceases to be there. But cessation of mind is equated to cessation of consciousness. So we say there is no conscious and deep sleep state. What is not there is the mind is not there. Therefore, Shakti alopat, because the power of consciousness is eternal, therefore in the deep sleep state also he is jnana, he is the nature of consciousness. Tatha bodhe. So is only consciousness in the waking state also avikara, because it changes. But then changes experience, we experience changes. That I am the Khatadashta, Patadashta, Mathadashta. Dashta also seems to undergo changes. Gneyasya visheshastu, what changes the Gneya, the object of knowledge. Atma, the illuminated, does not change. Yatra vayati shruter vachaha. Shruti says that if there is something to illumine, then he is called illuminator, otherwise he shines in his own light. Sushupta vyatma jnah eva shakti alopati yojana. Tika says that in deep sleep state also Atma is jnah, consciousness. Why? Shakti alopati, because the power of consciousness never ceases to be. Yadvaitanna pashyati, pashyanvaitanna pashyati. We just read that. The deep sleep state, Atma does not see. Seeing it is not see. There is no that second thing to be seen, therefore is not seer, but seeing is there. So what is not in deep sleep state is not that seeing is not there, seer is not there. The seeing becomes seer when there is an object of seeing. That object of seeing is not there, therefore the seeing, the consciousness doesn't become seer. Atma as though becomes seer with reference to object of seeing, as in waking state. In deep sleep state, that tad dvitiyam tu nasti, that others is not there, therefore Atma is not designated as seer. Atma doesn't become seer any time, but the seen creates this notion of seer in the Atma, therefore the notion of seer is not there. Doesn't mean Atma is not there. Tatha bodhe, bodhadashayam, jagasvadidi avata jnah. So Atma is merely consciousness. In Bodha, in the waking, as well as half waking, there is dream. Jnah, jnana swarupa eva Atma. All that Atma is jnana, jnana swarupa, consciousness. The states are all states of mind. The deep sleep is a state of mind, the dream is a state of mind, the waking is a state of mind. Those states keep on coming and going. Atma remains illuminator of them. Like the lamp in the theatre, all changes take place on the stage. The dancer comes and dances and goes, and the accompaniments come and go. All of these changes are illuminated by the light of the lamp without itself undergoing any change at all. Nirvatvena avikartaha vikara anupatte, because the illuminator does not need to undergo a change to illuminate, because all it needs is to shine. The lamp is called illuminator not because an act of illuminating on the part of lamp just shines. From the standpoint of what is illumined, we call the lamp illuminator. So what is illumined keeps on changing. If lamp was illuminator, then lamp also would change. But lamp is not illuminator, lamp possesses the eternal power of shining. So consciousness like lamp has eternal power of shining, things get illumined, it doesn't illumine. So vikara anupatte, just as in lamp there is no vikara, because of changes taking place in what illumines, also in consciousness, no vikara. Where changes take place is in the mind, in different states of mind. Avasthatrevi nirvishesha chidrupaschet atma. You say that in all the three states, waking, dream, deep sleep, nirvishesha chidrupa atma, atma is the unqualified consciousness. All the three states are unqualified consciousness. Katham tahi na jnasi samiti sushupti paramarsaha. If being is conscious in my nature, in deep sleep also I am consciousness, And how come in the waking I say, I did not know anything in the deep sleep? The jnasa, the sushupti paramasha. When I recall the deep sleep state, what do I say? I did not know anything. If knowing is my nature, how come I say I did not know anything? And bodhavasthayam cha katham janami. And when I wake up, I say, I know. So these anubhavas, experiences are there. That I did not know anything deep sleep state. I know in the waking state. How do you say Atma doesn't change? Iti ashankya. Vishaya uparama anuparama upadi nibandhanam tadubhayam. So jnayasya visheshastu vishesha. Jnaya means object, the Vishaya. What changes is the Jnaya, the object of consciousness. Uparama, Anuparama, and deep sleep state is Uparama, cessation of all objects. Anuparama, waking dream, there is non-cessation. So where changes take place are the objects that are illumined, the illuminator is ever the same. Tat ubhayam na swarupa nibandhanam. When you say that I did not know anything deep sleep state, it's not that I became non-knower, there was no object of knowledge. So not knowing something also is due to state of the object because there is cessation of all the objects. I know something in waking also because the objects come into being. I ever remain the same. So those statements, even though I say that I did not know anything, and I in waking say I know things, looks like I did not know and I know, and looks like the I changed to non-knower and knower. Says no, that change is due to the change in the object of knowledge. Knowledge, object of knowledge present, I say I know, not present, I say I do not know. I designate myself as knower and non-knower, not because of change in I, because of change that takes place in the object of knowledge. So, Jnaya Seva Visheshastu Jnaya Nibandhanam. This thinking or experience of mind, this conclusion of mind, that I did not know anything deep sleep state, that I know in the waking state, these statements about I are not based on I, they are based on the object of knowledge. I ever remain the same, shining in its own glory. Something comes, it illumines. Not there, does not illumine. But then we, identifying with buddhi, say that I did not know, that I become drashta. There is no drashta in deep sleep, and there is drashta in the waking. So that is the conditioned Atma. Atma itself is ever changeless. Yatra va anya divasya tatra anya anyat pashyet ityadika. Yatra dvasya saram atma bhut tat kenakam pashyet ityadika cha udaharanam. So again 4.3.21. This 4.3, all this is a description of deep sleep state. We saw 23, we saw 22, we saw 21. यत्र वा अन्य दिवस्या तत्र अन्यः अन्यत् पश्येत् इति. Oh, that is the So that's elsewhere, 4, 5, 15. यत्र हि द्वैतमेव भवति इतरत्र इतरं पश्यति इतरं जिघ्रति. So where there is as though duality, then one sees the other, one hears the other. यत्र अच्छे सर्वम आत्मैव भूत तत् केनकं पश्येत् केनकं जिघ्रेत्. However, when everything is now transformed into Atma, then seer, seen, seeing, all of these are seen as Atma or consciousness. There is no seer, no seen, no seeing. Ityadika udaharanam, meaning that Atma is merely one that takes the roles of seer, seen and seeing. Atma by itself, himself is devoid of any roles, just the consciousness. It's 31, not 21. यत्र वा अन्य दिवस्यात् तत्र अन्य अन्यत् पश्येत् अन्य अन्य जिघ्रेत्. Where there is as though another one, then I think that I am seeing something other than myself. In deep sleep there is nothing, therefore that seer here are not there. So they are notions born of what is seen rather than based on what we think is a seer. So this is the, what is this? Okay. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeri Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Lakshinamurtaye Namaha. Om Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.